Hi everybody, very welcome to yet another live stream on the Mentour Pilot channel. I hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic as always. So, as always guys, send in your questions either using the super chat where you will be contributing to the channel and the success of the channel, or using the Mentour Aviation app. You might have noticed that I've been pushing the app quite hard during the weekend because I am getting ready to make a major update to the application. So I'm getting as many users into there as possible to make the experience as good as possible, so that when I launch my Kickstarter, it will be more people that will be interested in helping the Kickstarter campaign. So don't worry, I won't be pushing the app all the time like this. I'm just trying to increase the usership at the moment. So as you can see, you can't see actually, there we go. There's already people sending in questions through the chat function in the app, which I'll be using on top of the super chat. And the first person on the super chat, Edward Cameron, you legend, has already been in there and said that he's not going to be participating tonight, but he is hoping that we'll have a great live stream anyway. So let's see then, guys. Who have we got here? We've got Jaguar G, Luke Hall, Matt Cog, loads of people here. It's always great to see you all here, by the way, guys. This is one of the favorite parts with keeping this channel, is to be able to interact directly with you, which is also why I created the Mentour Aviation app in the first place. Question coming in here, what's the minimum height required to be a pilot? So if you've looked at the AME interview that I did a couple of weeks back, he talked about 165 centimeters up to about 205 centimeters. I think you can probably go a little bit below that as well, but you go, from about 160 centimeters and up would be required, because you need to be able to both reach the pedals and see above the dashboard and reach all of the buttons on the overhead panel. So there are some physical restraints, and in some cases you might have to do a flight test as part of your medical exam in order to find out whether or not you actually can do it with your length. So it's not written in stone what the minimum requirement is when it comes to height, but it is somewhere around 160 centimeters. Right, some more questions, then I'll take them from the Mentour Aviation app here. Questions for men. Mentor, what happens if you are at the altitude of 10,000 feet and both your engines fail? How far can you glide in a Boeing 737? Yeah, you can. It actually has a really great glide account. It's almost like the old gliders, like what's a Super Hawk or something, I think they're called. So take about 3 times your altitude in nautical miles. So at 10,000 feet you can glide for about 30 nautical miles, more or less. So it's not bad. Having said that, it does, you do have to fairly quickly at that altitude decide where you want to go, because you lose about 2,000 feet in a 180 turn as well. So, you want to have fairly quickly decide on, okay, there is an airfield, I'm going to aim for that, and I'm going to lose a couple of thousand feet while I'm doing maneuvering as well. So it requires quite quick decision making. And of course we do have memory items that we will do if we would have a loss of both engines. Hopefully the engines will actually relight by themselves. That's what the aircraft is designed to do. So providing that we still have some speed, some wind wheeling of the engines, and we're quick of doing memory items, it's a fairly high likelihood that we will be able to relight at least one of them during the memory items. And once we have one, well, then the danger is kind of over, because then we can level off, we can do the checklists, and we can try to restart the remaining engine and back down again. So it wouldn't be like we immediately would start to try to do a no engine landing. No, the pilot flying would be focusing on trying to do that. The pilot monitoring will be focusing on doing the memory items to try to restart the engines. Victor Dalin is asking common questions on an interview. Well, there are loads of common questions, and if you go out on any of the pilot forums, depending on which airline interview you are talking about, you will be able to find out pretty much what they have been talking about. But you can expect to get questions about your previous experience. Like if you have no airline experience, it's going to be from your flight school. They are likely to ask you some technical questions about whatever aircraft that you've flown. It's because they're just probing to see how much you've understood by the training that you've gotten so far. And if you have previous experience, they're going to ask you about the previous aircraft, you know. So what hydraulic system did the 737 use to retract and extend the landing gear? And what happened if you had a loss of system A? How would you react if this and this happened? So questions like that is likely to come from the training captain. That will probably be part of your interview. And other questions from the personnel people tends to be, can you tell me something that you think that you're good at? Tell me something that you think is one of your weaknesses. Why do you want to apply to this airline or use this flight school? So those are kind of, you know, like bog standard questions that you should have had some kind of idea what to answer before you go for the interview. But on top of that, you know, check out, there's a multitude of information on the internet available, both for flight school interviews and for interviews for airlines. So, you know, look at that through. Right, guys, so as always, we have a couple of 100 people in here now, so there's going to be quite quickly, you know, the questions are coming very, very quickly. So if you have something that you really want to ask, use the super chat. The same goes for the Mentour Aviation chat. It's sending a load of questions out now. So use the super chat if you have something that you really want to ask and that you really, or, you know, become part of our mentor crew. Do that. If you go into Patreon crew. If you go into patreon.com/mentorpilot, I do, you know, with my top patrons there, we set up dates and times where we can do a Skype call and I can talk to them about whatever questions they might have or doubts they might have about the airline industry or their training or stuff like that. So that's something that I keep strictly for the people who are part of my Patreon crew. So if you really want to do that and you want to ask multiple questions and have a, you know, a kind of tete-a-tete talk, then go in and sign up with my Patreon crew. So, Mentor, 900 block hours a year, but with, let's see, I'm going to have to go into the chat to see that one. Mentor, 900 block hours a year, but with the time on the ground, and, oh, it's going so quickly here. Before, on average, how many hours would you work per week? Yeah, yeah, I think I know where this is coming from. I think a certain CEO of a certain airline went out and said that pilots were working only 18 hours a week, which is of course not true, unless you're working for some airline that I haven't heard about. Might be true for some weeks, but for most of the weeks, I'd say, including the check-in time, the flight time, like the block time, the turnarounds, the sign out time, you can work anything in between 35 to 45 hours a week. But of course, then people are working, you know, some weeks they might be working 20 and some might be 45. So averaging out like a normal 9 to 5 job, more or less. So, you know, something like that. Kartil, Kartik Nakul in the super chat forgot to add a mugshot. I hope you're good. Happy landings. All right, thank you. So Kartik has just provided a little bit of support for the channel, but didn't have a question to it. So thanks for that, Kartik. He's one of the most, one of the guys that are active inside of the app as well. So it's great to have you here, man. Right, more questions here. Hi, Mentor. What is about Stansted spotting? I am confused. Okay, so that's what I sent out on Twitter. Okay, yeah, it was just that Stansted Airport Police does these days where they invite spotters, and I think they actually invite them onto the airport grounds to do special spotting days, which are controlled, and the Stansted Airport Police takes care of people and shows them around and stuff. And I think that it's a fantastic initiative that lets people actually see more of the airport as well as spotting aircraft. So that's why I retweeted that tweet from the Stansted Police, because I think they're doing a great job. I didn't think more of it than that. Michael Dunn, hi. Let's see that. Okay, so quickly here I'm losing all of the questions here. Michael Dunn, try it again, because I've lost your question. I am a female. Can I be a pilot? Suggest me some companies I can work for. From Mace Mansour. Of course you can. We'd love more females into the business. It is a huge lack of females at the moment. It's getting better, I have to say. During my time in the business, which is about 15 years, when I started, it was very few. Now there's quite a few coming in, but it's still about between 5 and 7% of the workforce only. So yes, if you go through your training and you're good enough, obviously, because that's a prerequisite, you will find jobs. Airlines will basically look for you because they want a more equalized workforce. So absolutely, get your training done. Look for pretty much any airline who's hiring. The low-cost airlines will be hiring for quite a while. Ryanair has a huge need for pilots. EasyJet has said that they're going to hold back their recruitment for a little while until they start getting the new 320s and 321s, and when they do, they are going to start recruiting heavily again. Norwegian is recruiting, SAS, Ireland is recruiting as well. So there's loads of people out there, loads of jobs. Ben Barrett on the super chat, thank you very much for supporting, Ben. If you had a question and you didn't enter it or something went wrong, then please just contact me on my Facebook page, and I promise I will answer any question to you, because I do always answer all of the super chat questions. Mentor, what is the problem with Ryanair and the Belgian government? I don't think that there was a problem with Ryanair and the Belgian government. I think that there was a court case between Ryanair and one of their cabin crew. And that led, basically, the cabin crew stated that her court case should be heard in front of the Belgian worker court and not the Irish one, and that went up to the European Union, and the European Union then said that yes, any worker dispute should be set in the country where they are based. So that was what happened. The European court came down and said, listen, this is it. It doesn't matter where you have your contract. We are going to be listening to whoever complaint has or whoever plaintiffs who has a complaint in whatever country that they are based. So that was a big deal, because Ryanair has always said that that everyone is working on Irish contracts, hence are subject to Irish worker law, and of course that then makes it a whole different thing. But now that seems to be lifting, so we'll see what happens with that. Cool. So we've got some huge contributions in the super chat. Thank you very much, guys. It's fantastic to see. Ben Barrett, first of all, thank you very much, Ben. Thanks for your videos, Peter. When an airline recruits a potential captain as opposed to an FO, what difference are they looking for, and how does this approach change who they will recruit? Basically, Ben, you can always assume that any airline is always hiring a potential captain. Like there is no airline out there who will recruit someone they think is not fitted to become a captain, and that's why they're looking so hard into the recruitment questions, for example, and the tests that you do, the suitability tests and all of these numerical reasoning tests and stress tests and stuff like that. They're doing that because they want to know that they have quality personnel coming in, so that they know that they won't only be able to go through the type rating course, which is of course a requisite needed to do it, but also that they, after they have gained their hours, will be able to go up and be a potential captain. So there are no airlines that goes in and said, listen, I'm just going to be hiring you as a first officer. No, everyone will always be hiring you as a potential captain. And basically that is what you can assume when you go for an interview. That's what the airline wants. I hope that answers your question. I suppose if there would be a difference, no, not really. They want the best personnel in. That's it. More question than Brent Gregory. Thank you very much, Brent. Will self-driving airplanes reduce the demand for pilots? When? And thanks for all the advice. I did a video on this not too long ago, actually. I've done several videos on this because this is one of the most common questions that I get. But I'll be happy to talk about it again. So the technology will exist. At some point in time, there will be airplanes that are fully capable of flying without a pilot on board. There's no question about that. The question is how long that will take. All right. So if the airline industry was like any other industry, then they would be able to create those aircraft. Boeing would be able to go in and put all their best brains on creating this aircraft with artificial intelligence, being able to sort all of these kind of problems out that we do on an everyday basis, and then they would just be able to sell it. Okay, and if that was the case, then we would probably be looking at self-driving airplanes within the next 10 years. Right, there's no question about that. The technology will be there to be able to do that. You can just see the unmanned aeronautical vehicles that are flying with the military at the moment. They do that, you know, fairly okay. However, the airline industry is not like that. The airline industry is very, very heavy when it comes to giving out any approvals for new technology whatsoever. And the reason for that mainly is because of they're afraid of being sued. They're afraid of being liable for hundreds of millions of dollars if something is new with any new technology. That is why the 737 and even the 737 MAX that is coming out now, the most, you know, the newest type of the 737, you look up on the overhead panel, it looks like it's back in the 70s. Okay, and that's because the type rating applied to that aircraft and the technology that is being used have been proven safe, and they don't want to change that. So how does that affect that? Well, what happens is that any new technology that needs to be included, first of all, needs to be tested out thoroughly. And for an airline, for an aircraft manufacturer to completely take away the pilots altogether, you know, maybe remake the cockpit so that will be first class seat instead. It's a long process. We're talking maybe 15 years. If they had the technology to do it now, which they don't, it would take 15 to 20 years for them to actually get an aircraft like that out. All right. Then, on top of that, then you have the licensing authorities. Now, all of the licensing authorities in all of UK, all over the world, they are focused on 2 pilots. Okay. In order to reduce it down to 1 pilot, it would take some significant changes in rules of the air. And in order to take pilots out of the equation altogether, that will take even longer. And all of the member states that these aircraft are going to fly into and fly through and fly over would have to agree to the set of rules that are in force. Okay, and it's going to be a mixed period where you have unmanned aircraft flying together with human aircraft. All right, so that has to work together as well. So you can see how this is a nightmare from a legislative perspective. So that will take 30 years at least. You know, even from when the technology exists, and it doesn't yet. Okay, and then on top of that, then the aircraft manufacturers has to actually replace their fleets. So let's say that all of this is done, this test aircraft has flown perfectly, involved in normal civil traffic, and the aircraft manufacturers are then trying to sell them, and the airlines are now want to try to buy them. So there will be, once they start buying them, they start phasing out the piloted aircraft for the unpiloted aircraft. That is also going to take a good 20 years, because if you look at it, the 757 has been off the production line for a while. It's still flying. The 747 will soon disappear. It's going to be flying for another 20 years because it costs hundreds of millions of dollars to change these aircraft fleets out. So those of you who are in here watching me right now, you do not need to worry. Okay, your grandchildren will probably need to worry. Okay, your children, my children, maybe they are going to have to start worrying about being replaced. And I would say that the first step that we're going to see is 1 pilot aircraft. All right, so that will be a system that is very automatic, then being monitored by 1 captain, and maybe a flight dispatcher sitting on the ground handling multiple flights and being able to go in and assist someone who has a potential emergency. I know that Boeing is looking into that. That will probably be the first thing we see, but it's still years and years and years away. Right, cool. I hope that answers your question. That's basically the whole video once again. Right, more questions here. Kieran Smith, fantastic job you're doing, Captain. Well, thank you. Are you aware of the recent EasyJet pilot documentary? If so, what did you think? Yes, I am aware. I sat through the first 20 minutes of it, looking through it. I wasn't fantastically impressed, to be perfectly honest. I know that what they were trying to achieve was to show off how cool it was to become a pilot and how relatively easy it was. So not easy, but what the process was like. But in my view, it came across a little bit so and so, to be perfectly honest. There was a lot of chatting going on. There was a lot of talking while they were taxiing in busy airports. It looked very relaxed, very kind of like day-to-day-ish. But the thing is, when we, at least in my airline, when we're taxiing in some, or during sterile phases of flight, which is what we do from when we push back the aircraft until we reach cruising altitude, from cruising altitude until we're down on the stand again, we don't chat about anything that doesn't have to do with strictly operational matters. Even though that might sound boring, it's because we don't want to be distracted, because there are multiple threats, especially during the taxi phase, right? So we want to make sure that both crew members are focused on making sure that we're taxiing the correct way, that there's no traffic, no obstacles that we might run into, or anyone else making mistakes. And that's why when I watch someone sitting with brand new cadets doing, for example, a base training, and they're starting to chat away about, what did you do last week and how does this feel and stuff while they're taxiing, as a training captain, it looks a little bit showbiz to me. And that's what I thought. That's why I couldn't watch more than that. And that's also why I think that they discontinued the documentary, because that I'm guessing that's not what EasyJet wanted to show either. Guys, there's loads of questions here on the super chat. Sorry to all of you guys who are sending in via the app and via the normal chat now, but I'm going to answer the super chat questions first. So, Neo Timbo, hi Mentor, can you explain how tax works for pilots? If you work for an Irish airline, do you pay tax on Ireland? Yeah, you do, but you might also have to pay tax in the country that you work. Okay, so I am not a tax lawyer, all right? What I'd advise you to do is you have to make sure that you are paying the correct taxes. And the only way to do that is sit down with a local accountant in the country that you're based in and make sure that all of the paperwork that you are filing is correct, okay? Because it's likely that if let's say that you're working in Sweden, because I've been doing that myself, and you work for an Irish airline, and then it's likely that you're going to have to file your tax returns in Ireland. And if you have a company in Ireland, you're going to have to pay. You're going to have your accountants file your tax return there. But then you are also living in Sweden, and if you live in Sweden, you have to declare the income there, and you also have to declare that you've paid your taxes in Ireland, and that is then going to be deducted from the taxes that you pay in Sweden. Okay, so the way it works is that you will pay the taxes wherever your company is based, or wherever your contract is. In this case Ireland, and then the local authority is going to want to know exactly how much you paid, what, and then they're going to decide, well, we actually have a little bit higher tax in Sweden, so you're going to have to pay a little bit extra into us. Or you might not have extra tax in Sweden, and they say, all right, so all of the taxes have already been paid, that's fine. Another thing is is social payments, okay, social benefits and stuff like that. You have to make sure that that is being paid correctly as well. This is a jungle. Okay, and it's different from every single country, and it's also likely that that the tax workers in your country won't really know exactly what to do either, because they've never come across something as complicated and with so many countries involved. So my advice is try to do your best. Okay, declare your income, where you live, and where you have your company, or where your company is based. Make sure that you have your hands clean, that you've tried your best. And then if it turns out that it has been a mistake somewhere, but at least you can show goodwill, good faith, that you've tried your best and it still didn't work. The thing that you should not do, all right, this is important. The thing that you should not do is try to get away with not paying tax. Okay, because that is a hole you do not want to find yourself in. The tax authorities work slowly, which means that if you try to not pay taxes and kind of get away with it, maybe if I can claim back the taxes here, they won't notice. They won't for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Nothing is going to happen. On the 4th year, there's going to be a guy coming up to your house saying, listen, we would like to, we've understood that you've been working for this airline for a number of years, and they have now called us and said that you have claimed back all your taxes, and we haven't gotten any of your taxes back, so would you mind explaining that? And all of the burden is going to be on you. Okay, and they will prosecute you, and they will go back when they find that there's been something happening during the last 5 years. They will go another 5 years back and another. So in this business, guys, make sure you do everything to the book. Whatever you do, do that. There's been so many of my colleagues that's gotten into real trouble because of this. Not because of they, trying to fiddle, but because of mistakes made, or because they haven't been a little bit naive and thought that everything was going to be sorted. But it's up to you as an individual to make sure that the taxes are being paid. So, sorry, that I'm not going to talk more about taxes, but remember that this is important stuff. Edward Cameron, good evening. Because Monarch has gone bankrupt, what will happen to all the Monarch crew? Yeah, now the Monarch thing is a sad, sad thing indeed. Monarch has been an old, good employer. The crews that have been working for them have all been very happy from what I've understood. I know some people who are working for them. And obviously any bankruptcy like this is going to leave just a void. Loads of crews with all their families and everything being unsure what's going to happen. Now, there is right now a huge demand for pilots, which is a good thing for the Monarch crews. So it's likely that several airlines will start picking up their crews. They will probably be looking at Airbus operators first of all. So I would say EasyJet and Wizz Air, and I think maybe Virgin Atlantic was looking into it as well. They are going to be snatching up the people that they can. And then other airlines will going to come in and try to help as well, because everyone wants these families and these pilots to get a job. And when there is a need for pilots in the rest of the industry, it shouldn't be a problem that suddenly there are a number of crews available. They will just be absorbed into companies that works for them. That because you can't just, if you have a family, you have young kids and stuff, you can't just, pick up your bag and move to Korea normally. So there will be some hurt in this. Okay, it always is. But I'm sure, I'm positive that since these crews are well regarded in the industry, they will find jobs. That's what I'm hoping anyway. Jonathan Recco, in your last video you mentioned you wear Ray-Bans. What model of Ray-Bans do you wear? Also, thanks for the videos. Keep up the great work. Oh, the model, I don't really know, man. It is Ray-Ban Aviator. I'm going to try to find out, to be perfectly honest. It doesn't matter. It's a nice model. I bought them. I very rarely look at what the model name is. I just look at whatever sunglasses that I think is suiting me and my head form and stuff, and I got those ones. And then I have actually replaced the lenses because I needed the corrected lenses since I wear glasses. Some people pointed out that you can use contact lenses and normal glasses, and that's perfectly okay. I didn't even think of that, to be honest, because people are using contact lenses in the flight deck, but some people have problems with that because the air gets very dry, and you need to use eye drops to keep them moisturized because of the dry air. So I never use them. I only use my glasses and my corrected glasses. So I'm going to try to find out which model of Ray-Bans they are, but they're really good quality. I'm really happy with them. Cameron John, thank you very much for contributing. If you have a question, send it in on my Facebook page. And we've got Paper Priest here as well. Hi Mentor, no question, just wanted to send greetings from Canada. Glad I can finally make it to a live stream. Great to have you here, man. Thank you very much for helping out. And guys, I'm hoping that all of you watching this and all of you who are not being able to attend the live stream but are looking at this later on, that you will be looking out for the first time I actually forgot my words. No, the gathering of funds I will be doing to try to do the app, or try to make the new version of the application. I have some really good stuff that I want to get into the app this time. I want to make the chat more social, basically, and I want you to be able to share your not your videos but your pictures, so we get kind of an aviation Instagram thing going. And I have loads and loads of ideas that I want to do, but Kickstarter was the word I was looking for. I'm hoping that you stand out for that, guys, and that you help me out when the day comes, because I will not be able to afford the kind of upgrade that I'm looking for. But I want there to be a good, positive, constructive, social aviation app out there, because there is not at the moment, and I want Mentour Aviation to be that one. Yeah, I just wanted to say that. Daniel Demetzelin, thank you very much, Daniel. Hi Mentor, thanks for the great content. How how's the airline industry looking when it comes to pilot jobs for the coming 5 to 10 years, specifically in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East? Will there be a demand or a surplus for a surplus of pilots? There will be a huge demand. Okay, if I'm only basing it on the current orders that are on stock for Airbus and Boeing, there will be an enormous demand. And what's happened during the last couple of years is that since the terms and conditions have gone down, and they have during the last 2 decades, there's been less and less people who are willing to pay the amount of money that it costs to become a pilot. Okay, so people see that the terms and conditions are going down. Why would we be paying upwards to about 100,000 euros to become a pilot if we're not getting as much paid as we were expecting? Which is a fair question. So what happens then is that there's less and less pilots being trained. Okay. At the same time, the oil price has been dropping like crazy, and that has fed the industry. The low-cost airlines have been growing. The Chinese market has been growing from basically nothing. When I started 15 years ago, there were like a handful of airports in the entire China. Now it is popping up airlines everywhere. Low-cost airlines, long-haul airlines. You have the Middle East big three that are growing as well. And all of these requires these pilots that are not being trained. Okay, so that is what's creating the problem that people are starting to see now. I've been projecting the pilot shortage for about 2 years now. I did a video on that. If you go back 2 years, and you don't have to trust me on this, you can just go back and see the video that I made saying that this day will come. It will come a day when there is the demand and supply and demand curve has gone the other way, and it's starting to do that now. This is why you're starting to see airlines talking about sponsoring MCC courses, sponsoring type ratings, and the next step obviously is sponsoring training from the beginning. That's what Chinese airlines are doing. They're taking in guys and they're paying for their whole training, but also they're then bonding them basically for years and years to come to the airline. But I am sure that we're going to start seeing that soon as well. So I think that the cost of training, as long as it's down to the individual, the cost of training will not go down. But as soon as the airlines are starting to step up and maybe just guarantee loans and make people bond people for maybe 5 to 10 years for their training, it will be much easier for people like you guys maybe who doesn't have the funds yourselves, but that would be able to make great pilots. So that's what I'm hoping, and that's what I'm pushing for. This is why you would see me doing interviews with certain airlines at certain times, and that's because they have taken an initiative towards that. They've gone towards sponsoring or helping out, because that's where I want this industry to go. Because I don't think it's fair that it's only people who have money who can become pilots. I think everyone who have the talent and the ability and the dream to become a pilot should be able to get there. So that's what we're working on. That's what this channel is working on, if you were wondering. So 3 now 2. What happens if you have a total alternator failure in flight? Well, we don't use alternators on the 737. You can have that on the Cessna, for example. You will have batteries. The batteries will last for a certain amount of time. Normally, well, hopefully enough for you to get down. Same goes for the Boeing. The Boeing has 1 hour of powered flight before we lose all electricals, if we lose both generators, right? So loss of both generators plus the APU will require us to obviously to get down as quickly as we can, but 1 hour will take us quite far. Now, not every system is powered during that hour. Okay, all these essential systems, basically all of the flight instruments and comms for the captain will be powered. So, and then obviously all of the galley buses and stuff is being powered down. But what we would do is, as soon as this happens, we would do the non-normal checklist associated with it, but we will start diverting, and it shouldn't be any kind of problem for us to get down with this failure. Skjalg Slobovsky, will you and Captain Joe do a collaboration? Well, that is something that I will not answer. Even though you use the super chat, I will not answer that. But you never know. I'm going to leave you with that one and see what happens. Ulsok, hi Mentor. I got accepted into flight school. Congratulations, man. Do you have any tips on what I should do to prepare myself before the school starts? Do you know if having a laden mutation would make me fail the medical? Well, first of all, you've been accepted into the flight school, you need to get your medical done before you start preparing anything else, because obviously without the medical there's no point in starting the flight school. So get that done. I don't know what the laden mutation is. and I am not an AME, so I will never be able to discuss or answer specific medical questions. So just go there and do what you can. Most you know, you can get through get a medical with most things. There are some stuff that stops you, and those are generally like heart conditions, color deficiency and type 1 diabetes, or insulin, if you need insulin as part of diabetes. Those are things that will stop you. Things like eczema, small stuff, and you know, like I said, I don't know exactly what your condition is, but in most cases you can get through with quite a lot. I have a colleague who had some quite bad scoliosis and kind of was limping and walking, had some problems standing up straight and stuff. He still got his class 1 medical because he could move as much as he needed to become a commercial pilot. So, you know, don't be afraid of it. Just go and get it done. And best of luck to you. Ben Barrett, how important is networking in this industry, and how do you have any networking resources or tips? Yeah, so getting your first job can be a lot about networking. When I started off, it was all about networking. There was no low-fare airlines taking in 200-hour cadets. All right, it was all about trying to get a job on a King Air or flying mail somewhere or doing something. Those jobs are still out there. And those ones requires networking. So networking is you turning up, you know, taking every opportunity to talk to people in the industry when you can. All the captains that you meet, all of the open days that you can go to, or whenever you see someone that you know that has anything to do with the aviation industry. There might be someone working in check-in or whatever. Start up a conversation. Talk to them. Tell them who you are, introduce yourself, and you're going to find out that this industry is really small. It's really small. So it's very possible that the one who speaks to knows the chief pilot of this small airline operation that requires a pilot to help them to fly an ambulance, Beach 200 at some point, and then you get yourself in that way. So just take the opportunity to talk to people. And this is where I've gotten some questions about if you need to be extrovert or introvert. And I'd say that to become a pilot, it doesn't really matter. There's loads of introvert pilots and loads of extrovert pilots, but the extroverts have the benefit of networking because they are outspoken, they speak to people, and they talk about. There's a saying like, how do you know if there's a pilot in the room? Okay, the answer to that is he or she will tell you, and that is pretty much true. The pilots tend to be like that. They tend to come up and they say, and I don't mean that if you're going to be bragging about a pilot. No, I'm talking about people trying to get their first job and trying to find that valuable contact that is going to give you the towards that first airline job. Even if it's a small job, it is multi-pilot time or multi-engine time. It's going to be great for you. So continue to consider that. Great question, by the way. Right, more questions here. I'm going to take some from the normal chat here as well. Guys, please download this app. Thank you. RS Aviation, great, good stuff. Good to see people fighting for the cause. So yes, the standard language for aviation is English. So if you have problems with English, well, first of all, you probably have problems following what I'm saying because I'm speaking fairly quickly. If you have no problems understanding what I'm saying and you can follow everything I say, then your English is good enough. All right, so I'm just going to put it like that. And this is also something that I'm doing for my patrons if they want, is if they're a little bit unsure if their English is good enough, they can call me up. Because I am an English language assessor. That's part of my job as a type rating examiner. And we can have a conversation, and I can't give you a grading, obviously. I can't give you a level 4, 5, or 6. But I can tell you whether or not you are closer to one or the other, and whether or not you need to work on it, and what you should be working on. So that's also something that I do for my Patreons if they want to. More questions, then I'll go down to the super chat. To the Mentour Aviation chat, and as you can see, it's lit up completely, and it's great because there's loads. There's probably hundreds of new users since yesterday when I put out that video on YouTube just explaining what the app does, and it's so great to see you all in there. Mentor, do you have a university degree of some sort? And what other qualifications do you have apart from your pilot license? No, I don't. I went straight out from the Aviation College of Sweden, where I was accepted. That was the government-sponsored program. I did my military service as an airport firefighter. And then I did the secondary course, which is basically just a build-on course, but I never got a degree. I never got a university degree. I wish I had a university degree, because then I would have something to fall back on. But I didn't do it, and I didn't need to, because the airline that I applied to didn't need to. Some airlines will ask for it, okay? Probably not when you have some experience though, but for your first job, they might ask for it. So other qualifications, well, I've been an insurance salesman. I've been a football umpire, even since I was 14. I've been doing that. I've been doing loads of stuff, but nothing really that would qualify me more or less to become a pilot. So more questions here. Let's see. So I'm not missing anything on the super chat. Great. What's the best way to afford training costs in the US? I really don't know how to take out private loans. Yeah, I mean, the answer to that is, if you can't get a loan, okay, and I'm getting these questions all the time. If you can't get a loan, the sad truth is that you're going to have to save up to it. And you'd say, how can I save up to that? Well, you probably can't save up to 120,000 euros or dollars or whatever for an integrated course, but you can save up to the $35,000, or $45,000 that it will cost you to do it the modular way. And you can do that over an expanded time period. So you can start when you're 20 and you can work away with whatever you do, whatever you can do, and the spare money that you get, instead of going out to nightclubs and stuff, you'll use that towards your flight training, and you start gaining hours and you start getting certificates, and then you push it through. And no matter, and you know, one day you'll just stand there with all of your licenses, no debt. It might have taken you 7 years to get there, but you will get there. So everything is possible. Okay, and the other side obviously is that you can start looking for government-sponsored programs. In the US, probably not, but look for scholarships as well. There are scholarships available that might reduce your exposure, you know, a little bit. Might be taking down the amount that you need to save up to. And other people just find a solution, guys. It is hard, but people have done it. I've been in contact with people who have started companies selling fruit, or started up internet companies, you know, importing stuff from China, selling it out, or well, starting YouTube channels, I guess, stuff like that. And they've been just thinking outside of the box. Instead of thinking, how can I get into that flight school and how can I get a loan? They've been thinking, all right, so I need to find this money. Where do I find this money? Well, I'm going to have to come up with something. And they've done that. And they've created something out of thin air that has then led to them being able to pay for their flight training. If you think outside of the box like that, you will never have a problem in life. You know, life is, like Forrest Gump would have said, like a box of chocolate. You can get through with pretty much anything in this life. It's a fantastic world to live in, and the possibilities are endless. Right, more questions. I'll take some from the normal chat here. Is science background required to opt for flight training? To a certain extent, yes. You need to have maths. You need to have physics. All right. You should have English if that's not your first language. So those things you should have as part of your school leaving certificate. To what extent it doesn't, you don't really require to have very high level mathematics, but what will be equivalent to Swedish level C, which is like, well, algebra and normal kind of, you know, find what the x is, you know, not very advanced maths whatsoever. And once you get into the airline business, not much, you know, it's going to be for your training that you're going to need it. Right, more questions here. Paper Priest, thank you so much for the support. I don't know if you're talking to me or someone in the chat, by the way, but if it's someone in the chat, great work, guys. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And this is what we do in the chat, by the way. When you get the Mentour Aviation app, if you go in and you have a question like this, like, guys, how can I find a good flight school? What do you think about this flight school? What's a good airline? What kind of headset should I buy? You just ask that question, and there will be someone in there Maybe not straight away that will be able to answer the question. Okay, maybe me, maybe some of the other professional pilots out there. We have our Falcon 50 girl Ava, who's fantastic. She's answering a lot of questions about both flying commercially, which is done in the Airbus, and flying private jets, which is she's doing now from America. So she is a fantastic resource. She's full of answers and full of energy when she's not having breakfast with her mom. But she's there. We have cadets that are just joining their flight training and starting their line training, like Teddy Sonswang, for example. He's there answering about the training and getting that first job and how that feels and how the type rating feels. And by the way, guys, if you are about to go into your 737 type rating, you have the full setup collection that I have reduced the price on in the app now to show you how that setup is done and give you some tips during it as well. So I'm hoping that you like that. Right, more questions. So no more questions come up in the super chat. So we'll take some from the app then. Mentor, do you need to be in the same airline for your entire career? No, basically no one is nowadays. The time when you joined a legacy airline, the old flag carrier airlines, and then you just stay there your entire life, that time has come and gone. Okay, you might still do, and I mean, I've been in the same airline for 15 years because it's been working very well for me. However, the airline business is not what it used to be. Okay, there are not any perfect pension schemes coming up if you stay enough years. Most of them are now, it's a fairly competitive market out there. So you have to look after yourself and see how you can achieve as good life quality as possible through the employer you have. Okay, and if the employer is giving you that life quality, that might be staying with your family, or it might be traveling a lot, or it might be money, or whatever that's important to you, then you stay with them. But when that changes, and it will, the only thing you can be absolutely 100% certain about in the aviation world is that nothing ever stays static. Every time that you're sure that this is how you wanted it, or this is what you're expecting, something changes. All right, so you have to be thinking on your feet. Okay, you have to be aware that changes might come and you have to plan for them. It's pretty much like flying, where you're flying and you know that at some point something is going to happen, so I have to be mentally prepared for that. It's the same in the business. So it is likely that you are going to start with one airline, that is going to work for a while, then something will happen and you'll have to move. Look at the Monarch pilots, it's a good example. They had a fantastic airline to work for, they're really happy, and all of a sudden doesn't exist anymore. What do we do now? So it's a good example of how the airline business is. It's ruthless and it's all about money. The airline business is all about money nowadays. You have to kind of dig your own little golden chair to sit in. Okay, all of the airlines out there are just going to want to make money because that's what it's all about. Since the airlines were deregulated and the states were removed from the airline business, it's all become about who can make the most money. And when it's like that, then some airlines will think that it's really good, for the crews to be happy and to pay the crews well, because then they won't spend as much time or money on training. Others will say, well, we actually do, it's cheaper for us to do the training, so we don't really care that much. And this changes. All right, this is what you're seeing now. You're seeing some big difference, some big changes in the airline industry right now. It's very interesting to see. We will see what will come out of it. Right, more questions. There's no more questions on the super chat, so we'll see here. What do you think about the Air Force? I've talked about this. Is actually a long time since I mentioned the Air Force now. Yeah, going through the Air Force is I've never recommended going through the Air Force, because in order to go for the Air Force, you have to feel patriotic. We want to do it to serve your country and to be a good soldier for your country. Okay, you shouldn't do it just because you want your civil aviation licenses after, because the likelihood is that you're going to be bonded in the military for quite a while, 5 to 10 years. But if flying fighter jets is what you want, and you want to serve your country, and you want to take the risks that come with it, and be aware that most countries doesn't fly that much, the military pilots, they don't fly that much, well then you should go for it, okay? But I wouldn't recommend it as the way to get into the civilian business. you will be able to change your military licenses over to civilian licenses eventually, but it will take some time, and you're likely to have to write some exams and stuff anyway. So, Mentour Pilot, in the 737 near top of descent, what requirements are needed to turn on wing anti-ice and engine anti-ice during descent? Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so wing anti-ice is a de-icer. We use wing anti-ice only when we see physical wing ice building up on the wings. So that will be when you actually see it, and you see it first on the windscreen, close to the center of the windscreen. You see some kind of like a horn building out on each side with ice. If you see that, you know that you're going to have ice on the wings, and you know, depending on what kind of temperature you're descending into, you can decide to turn on the wing anti-ice, which is going to be the outboard for slats only, not the inboard. So it look quite weird. You look out on the wing and you can see that only half of the wing gets de-iced, the rest stays the way it is. So that's wing anti-ice, all right? Engine anti-ice are a little bit different depending on which flight phase you're in. So during climb, you basically turn on the wing anti-ice, sorry, the engine anti-ice when you have visible moisture, which means cloud or precipitation, and the outside temperature is colder than 10 degrees total air temperature, or actually outside air temperature, and warmer than -40 static air temperature. Okay, so between +10 total air temperature and -40 static air temperature, and you will find that on the progress page 2, I believe. Then we have the wing anti-ice, sorry, the engine anti-ice on. Okay, that goes for climb and cruise. So once the temperature drops below -40, we can turn it off, no matter if we're in cloud or not, because it's everything outside is ice then, and it's not sticking to the wings. So then, when you get into descent, it's different because of the low engine power that we have. Whenever you get into visible moisture, no matter what the temperature is, you turn the engine anti-ice on. All right, I'm getting tired now, guys, because I've been talking for 55 minutes. So that's the requirement. Okay, so it's 10 degrees total air temperature, -40 static air temperature. Okay, that's the difference. Cool, and that's in centigrades, I should be saying. Guys, if you have any more questions now, I'll take anything that you have that you really want to ask, then use the super chat. I will take the last questions otherwise from the Mentour Aviation app. And you know, stay tuned, guys. And there's more videos coming up. I am looking into. I'm feeling a little bit in the mood, so I'm going to do some videos that I might be releasing before Thursday as well. So make sure that you stay tuned to the channel. But otherwise, there will be a video on Thursday as well. I'm working hard on the flap video. The problem and the reason that I didn't release a flap video already is because I need that to be good. And I need to be able to get some footage, which is hard for me to get because I need to personally get that footage. All right, so that's why I'm still working on the flap video, but there's other stuff that I'm going to be giving you. All right, and I'm going to be going more in towards procedures and what we think in emergencies and how we deal with cabin crew and stuff like that. Because I've realized that Captain Joe is doing a fantastic job when it comes to explaining the technical bits about what's going on in the aircraft cabin and stuff like that, and toilets and things. I think my strength has always been the soft skills and what we deal when we deal with other people and when we deal with other pilots and cabin crew and stuff like that. So I'm going to be doing more of those videos, and I hope you're going to like that. Are you going to like that? Tell me, yes or no? Right, let's see then. I don't get any yeses. Still. Brandon Mayer, Mentour Pilot, should I get a joke or a HOTAS for flight sims? I want to fly an Airbus, but I can't fly commercial airline sticks, so what is your idea? Get what you can and work with that would be my idea. Yeah, so I'm getting some yes now. Good. Right, more things are coming up here. Carol, Mentor, flying solo and navigation route tomorrow. If my GPS will get broken and will get lost in the map, what would you personally do yourself? Well, you always have air traffic control. You can ask them, providing you're in a radar covered area, you'll be able to ask them for radar vectors. People are forgetting always that you have air traffic control and that they're there to help you. So if you get lost, then you can always ask them for help. Otherwise, it's a good idea to have some kind of knowledge about where the VORs are, and knowing how to tune them and use them to find the VOR, because then you will be able to find a certain location on the map, and then you can navigate VFR from there. So there are always ways around that, but you have to not panic and just use all the resources you have available to you. So basically, chill. Joe, Mentor, what can I do to improve myself as an applicant for an airline program? Yeah, I mean, all of the things that I've been talking about is things that you should be practicing, right? I've done some videos about how to prepare for an airline interview and how to ace the simulator session. Check that out. But otherwise, you know, for an airline interview, the airlines will want you to be, you know, a guy that they want to work with, basically. Someone who they feel comfortable with, someone they feel that has the knowledge that they should have once they get out of flight training, and also that they're confident that you can do the type rating, like I said in the beginning of the live stream. So preparation is more about just maintaining the skill that you've gotten when you got out of your flight school. Don't let that go. Keep it up. You know, rent a simulator or something like that if you feel like you're losing some of your initial skills that you had. And then when you get there, be honest and read up on the things that, you know, like your previous aircraft type that you've flown on, stuff like that. But I'm talking about all of these things on the video, so check those videos out. And it's been helping people before. And Prudvi Neteti, thank you very much for supporting the channel. Guys, this has been a great hour. I can't believe it's been an hour already. Have a fantastic day. I'm going to be flying on late this weekend. This week coming up, 4 days on late. So I will be at home during the day, and then during the afternoon I will be flying at the night. So it's you don't have to. There will be less notifications being sent out by the Mentour Aviation app, basically. Guys, have an absolutely fantastic day. Thank you very much for all of you who's been here. I hope you've enjoyed it, and see you next Sunday, if not. Bye-bye. I'm back. I just wanted to say, guys, before you all go, that I'm going to be available in the Mentour Aviation app now for a while. So if you want to hang out a little bit, maybe ask some more questions, but just some short questions and stuff, get into the Mentour Aviation chat, and we can talk a little bit more there. And tell me what you thought about today's live stream. And also, guys, make sure that you've seen the videos that I have up on Facebook regarding the app. If you want to help the app really out, you can do two things. You can share the promo video that I have tagged, like pad on top of my Facebook page, and you can give the app a rating and a review, hopefully a good one, by the way, because that helps more people who are aviation interested finding the app, and we'll get more people in. The more people we have there, the more answers we will get to the questions, and the more vibrant the app will become. So if you want to help out with that, that would be absolutely fantastic. Now I'm going to go. Take care, guys. Bye.